as we were of you. Okay? Deal? Okay. All right, so I'll start with Councilmember Franklin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to begin by addressing a few important points. Several months ago, when this issue first came to our attention about the ability to join with an amicus brief, it was discussed that there was very limited time remaining to sign on to an amicus brief, and that as we passed that deadline, caused us to think we had missed the opportunity for our cities and our citizens' voices to be heard, until it occurred to me that this is going to go to the appellate court, and then it's going to go to the Supreme Court. Almost certainly this issue will be heard by the Supreme Court. So we have at least two more opportunities over what's probably at least a year from today going forward to join in some of these amicus briefs and express our opposition to the California Values Act. I want to tell you why I oppose the California Values Act. First and foremost, the value of tolerating someone who is the breaker of the law, who has committed dangerous, felonious crimes, and to say that of a person who did not possess the legal right to be president of the United States, that we should not remove somebody from this country who has committed dangerous crimes, I think is abhorrent. And I think the research and the statistics demonstrate that the people of California, in some polls as many as 70%, oppose this legislation. I think locally it's more. The California Values Act implies that there is no value of U.S. citizenship. It rejects the idea that immigration to the United States is a privilege which is granted to those who want to be a citizen, want to be a part of the fabric of our nation, want to abide by our nation's laws. It is entirely appropriate that those individuals who would like to become citizens of the United States should conduct themselves in compliance with our nation's laws, particularly with regard to felonious crimes and misdemeanor crimes, crimes of a serious nature. And I think what's most important about the idea of whether or not this law positively or negatively impacts public safety. Right now, there are 11,600 felons that are eligible for deportation in California's prisons. And this law will interfere with the ability of state and local officials to deliver those individuals to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement to deport them from the country. I cannot square that returning hundreds of dangerous criminals to the streets of the city of Vista is in fact in the best interest of the people of Vista, particularly not when they most likely have victimized the exact communities which we are discussing protecting here tonight. I did not start this conversation. I absolutely did not. The legislature, Madam Mayor.
Okay, if you do that, I'm going to call a break and we'll go for another 10 minutes. We'll go for 10 minutes. We're not going to have you guys yelling from the audience. That's the decorum. We were patient with you, and you be patient with us, please. Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I'd be happy to speak to an empty chamber if that's what's necessary to maintain decorum. My remarks are directed to you, my colleagues, and to all the people of the city of Vista. There are other citizens of the city of Vista that I represent that are not sitting here tonight, and I am their voice, and I will speak to represent them. I would ask for order.
I'm looking at them, and I'm very close to calling a recess again.
The comment was made that the that our actions tonight potentially nullify the process of representative government and intervene with the people and their elected officials. The reality is that the state legislature took it upon themselves to enter in an area of law that is expressly reserved for the federal government by the Constitution of the United States of America. The state of California does not possess the authority. This act is inherently unconstitutional. And I would point, among other clauses of the Constitution, to the prerogative of the Congress and the federal government to establish a uniform rule of naturalization. The Constitution also says that the United States in every state shall guarantee a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion. The idea of establishing a uniform rule and expecting the law to be enforced in an equal fashion is absolutely appropriate. And if we decide we don't like that law, then we should petition our representatives in Congress to change those laws, not decide at the state or, frankly, at the city level that we don't like those laws. We swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, the laws of the United States of America, and the Constitution and laws of the state of California. However, when those things are in conflict, it's incumbent upon us to examine the question of law and to decide which law actually has precedence. The Constitution says that the Constitution of the United States of America and all the laws made pursuant thereto shall be the supreme law of the land. Federal law trumps state law on this item 100%. It is unquestioned. The state does not have the prerogative or the right to interfere with the enforcement of federal law or to change the prerogatives of local law enforcement to cooperate. We had, going back 9-10 years ago, we had wonderful partnerships with the U.S. Attorney's Office, with DEA, with ICE. And really, I want to talk about what didn't get said here tonight, and I wish that it had been. I wish there was care and concern for the fact that Immigration and Customs is now conducting workplace enforcement in large numbers here in Vista. I've personally been contacted by employers, some of whom reached out to me and told me that employees that they'd had for 15 years had disappeared at the hint of an immigration enforcement action without any trace, people they had formed long relationships with. Previously, ICE had been stationed in our county jails and had been deporting only dangerous criminals directly from our jails, and this consumed the bulk of their time and resources. Having been cast out by the California Values Act of our prison system and our jails, they now have no ready source of individuals to deport, and so they've taken it upon themselves, at the direction of the President, to find those who are in violation of our immigration laws. And so they have gone, instead of deporting those who are criminals, they're deporting individuals who very much fit the ethic of people we would want in our country. I believe it is our duty to act on behalf of the vast majority of the people of Vista that are not in this room tonight, to stand up for what they feel are their values, to stand up for law and for order, to stand up for the rule of law. I believe it is important what we as a city do and what position we take. I would like to offer a motion to resolve that the California Values Act is inconsistent with the values of the people of Vista, and that the City of Vista supports the position of the United States of America in the Department of Justice v. California and in the California Attorney General v. the United States Department of Commerce. Again, I'll repeat that. I'd like to offer a motion that the City Council be resolved that the California Values Act is inconsistent with the values of the people of Vista, and that the City of Vista supports the position of the United States of America in the Department of Justice v. California and California Attorney General v. U.S. Department of Commerce. Those are the cases that are currently litigating SB 54. I think it is important that the rule of law is restored, and as the legislature has decided to be lawless and pass laws that are unconstitutional, it is incumbent upon every elected official at every level of government in this state to stand up for what is right and what is just and what is legal and what is constitutional. Mob rule will not rule our city. Mob rule will not rule our state. I will not be shouted down. I will not cow to people who want to disrupt the decorum of our chamber. The rule of law establishes a hierarchy of laws, and the federal government and the Constitution is supreme in these issues. I would ask that you second my motion and that you approve my motion. Thank you. I did ask to put it on the agenda together with Councilwoman Rigby because I believe that it is imperative that we stand up and be leaders. We were elected to be leaders. Our state legislature took an action which was not their purview, which was in violation of the Constitution, and therefore I think it's incumbent for every elected leader in California to stand up and say enough's enough. We're not going to be a lawless people. We're not going to be a lawless state. We're not going to be a lawless city. Laws are the only thing, laws and civility are the only thing that separate us from a violent, disorganized society. Laws and our ability to have discourse, though we might disagree with one another, and let this be a lesson for all those engaged in the study of civics. In America, we settle our differences by talking and listening to one another. We don't have to like what the other party says. We don't have to agree with it. But if we endeavor to shout them down and to drown them out and to quell the freedom of their speech, then what option is left to a man or a woman who has not the right of free speech? That is a question that should be studied by all interested in our democracy and our republic. That is vital. Okay? And respect for the institutions of government can start right here. This is an institution of government. We were duly elected to represent the views of our constituents, and we were duly elected not to represent the views of only those individuals who came to speak before us, but of all of the people of Vista. And that is my duty, and that is the charge I will execute. And so I'm asking you to join with me in speaking up on behalf of the vast majority of the people that we were elected to represent, and standing up on behalf of what is in fact right, which is the rule of law, order, civility, the structure of our society as a nation. That's what I'm asking that we do as leaders on behalf of the people we represent tonight, and that's why I'd ask you to vote yes on the resolution that I've offered.
But isn't the Supreme Court, eventually this will go to the Supreme Court. They're the ones to make the final decision. This is a federal issue. It's not really our state issue. I mean, it's not really our city issue, you know, so I don't understand, I guess, why.
The state chose to involve itself in a federal issue, and I'm saying that it's incumbent upon us to stand up as leaders at the city level, and I think it's incumbent upon those on the water board and those on the county board of supervisors who have already taken action, and those on the board of equalization and the water quality control board, and any individual who has a voice in this system, in this democracy, should stand up. And if nothing else, we ought to, and really the crux of what I believe and the reason that I'm so passionate about this is truly about the rule of law. Our society is devolving into disorder and mob rule because we are not enforcing the laws. And this really comes down to whether or not we as a people will enforce the laws, and whether we will stand up and say to our state legislature, who has thumbed its nose at the U.S. Constitution, and we will say this is wrong, and we lend our voices to those who demand the return of the rule of law. That's what this is about. And I think it is important. I think it's important for us as municipal leaders to be involved. I think it's important. We are leaders in our community, and if not us to stand up for this, then who?
But I guess I agree with you. I mean, I totally agree with you, but I also know that there is another half of our society here in Vista, of our city, 53% Hispanic right now, another half that disagrees with you. So we have to represent our city as a whole, you know, not just the part that just not that part. I think we have to agree, we have to take consideration both sides. So that's why I'm having such an issue with it, because I think I represent all of them as well as the people of the other side.
It's my considered belief, based on what I know about public research that's been done on this issue, that a large majority of Californians, of San Diego Countyans, of Vistans, in fact, oppose sanctuary state and sanctuary city policies. They are overwhelmingly unpopular. The research has supports
But Sheriff Gore supports this. Supports this.
That's actually
and he was
false.
elected by all the Republican.
That's actually completely false. I've read every public statement.
We got to clear it.
Let us have a discussion.
I have read every public statement that the sheriff has made. The sheriff has made his best effort to be neutral. He made one comment when asked by a reporter what he thought about the San Diego County Board of Supervisors involving themselves in the amicus brief. And he said, I wouldn't advise them to do that if I were them. He didn't think that the board should entangle itself in the controversy. The board, fortunately, saw it as their duty to involve themselves and to stand up and be heard. And the sheriff later reconsidered his remark and withdrew it. But it is not the fact. In fact, the sheriff, on his press release, be more than happy to read it to you if you'd like to hear it. The sheriff has issued a press release on SB 54, and nowhere in it, in which he states his official position, and nowhere in it does he say that he favors or endorses this law. And he has made no statement to that effect in any public forum. So if he's made it in private in a room I wasn't in and didn't hear, I can't speak to that. But I have spoken to the sheriff personally on many occasions, and often this was a subject of conversation. He never availed himself of the opportunity to say, you know, I support that law, and never, when asked by the newspaper reporters numerous times about this issue, and after he first spoke on the issue, he was subsequently repeatedly asked to state his opinion, to the point where he needed to put out a clarifying press release. And at no point did he say that he was supportive of the legislation itself. His press release actually goes on to just simply state the facts of the issue and is completely neutral. He's not taken a position opposing it, and he's not taken a position in favor of it. That's the fact.
Well, I also know that he follows it because it's the law, and he follows the law of the state, I believe, right now. So I don't know. This is a really sticky issue here. I mean, it's tough because I feel like I absolutely agree with you. But I also know that there's people on the other side that
I would just ask if our highest calling is to the law of the state of California, or if it's in fact to the Constitution of the United States of America, which prescribes that all of the laws made pursuant to the Constitution are the supreme law of the land. It's very plain language, written to be understood by all of us. It's clear and unambiguous. This is the realm of the federal government. This is about controlling and protecting our national borders, and as I read from the Constitution, establishing a uniform rule of naturalization. That means the federal government has absolute purview to make the rules about who can and who cannot immigrate, and in what circumstances that they can be deported.
I agree with that, and I don't agree with an open border. I agree we need to have rules that people come into the. They need to, but it isn't us. It's the federal government that needs to change it. The Congress needs to get on this problem, and it's getting bigger all the time. So, anyway. Okay, I will call for the vote. And the vote is to. Yeah, read it again, please.
Let me restate. It's a resolution of the City Council. Resolved that the California Values Act is inconsistent with the values of the people of Vista, and that the City of Vista supports the position of the United States of America in the Department of Justice v. California and California Attorney General v. United States Department of Commerce.
So that passes 2 yeses, 1 no, and I actually abstained because I represent all of the city. I'm the mayor of the whole city, so that's
Does the mayor, Mr. City Attorney, does the measure fail?
I think it passes.
No, the measure passes.
It does. Okay.
Yes.
So I would reoffer my motion. Resolved that the California Values Act is inconsistent with the values of the people of Vista, and that the City of Vista supports the position of the United States of America in DOJ v. California and California AG v. U.S. Department of Commerce.
That motion carries with 3-1.